Hello everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to create a gear with the spheres inside. So let's get started. So first I want to bring my source image into the scene, and this part I'm going to do quick because at this point we already know how to do that. So I create a plane and assign a new material to it, favorite material Lambert, and then go assign my texture to it. And I'm gonna hit 6 on my keyboard so that the texture is appearing. I'm gonna rotate it in such a way that I can see it in the front orthographic view. Just gonna rotate it like this. Once I know which axis it is that I need to be rotating, it's rotate X. I'm just gonna go into the channel box and put in 90 here and hit enter. Then I'm just gonna push it out of my way and scale everything up so I can see that. Okay, so this looks good, and then I'm gonna put this plane into a display layer so that I don't click it accidentally. So while this object is selected, I'm gonna click on this icon. It's gonna create a new layer for me. I'm gonna name this image plane 1, save, and then I'm gonna set it to be a reference layer. Once it shows R here, it means it's a reference layer, and then I'm not gonna be able to click on it from the scene. Okay, so let's get started. So when I look at this, so this is the one that I created before. When I look at this shape, the basic shape can be achieved by creating a pipe, right? So basically a cylinder that has a hole inside it. So I'm gonna do this first, just to create a polygon pipe. The pipe polygon shortcut is not here in the poly modeling shelf, so I'm just gonna go get it from the menu. While I'm in the modeling menu, I go to create, polygon primitives, and then pipe. Okay, I'm gonna click on this, and looking at this image, I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these teeth things that are around the gears. So when I have 8 of them, if I go to subdivision 16, I'm going to be able to extrude those faces and get to these shapes, right? So I'm going to set the subdivision for this pipe to be 16. So while I have this pipe polygon selected, I go to my channel box and click on polypipe. And for subdivision axis, by default it's 20. I'm just gonna go and type in 16. Okay, so that looks good. The next thing would be for me to rotate it so it's exactly at 90 degrees. So I'm gonna do that. I'm hitting E on my keyboard to get to rotation manipulator. Rotate it like this, and then I can see that it is rotate X that needs to have 90 degrees, so I'm gonna just go in and put in 90 here. Okay, going to my front view. Okay, so be careful at this point, don't move your object from the center. We're gonna do some stuff later that it's easier to work with the object while it is in the center, right? As you can see here, if I hit W, here you can see that it is exactly at the center of the grid, and we want it to be like this. Okay, this is gonna help us along the way as we do the rest of this, as we create the rest of this model. So don't move your model from the center. And if you did, just go in and put 0 for all the translation, XYZ, so it's back to the center, okay? So I have my pipe at the center. I'm gonna hit R to go to scale mode, and using this square here, I'm gonna scale it in the XY plane. As you can see here in the front camera, I can see that this is the XY plane. I'm just gonna scale it like this because I don't want it to get thick on this side, okay? That's why I'm grabbing this handle, okay? This handle, you know, when you see a square, it means that it's gonna work based on the plane, okay? And I want it to be scaled in this plane, so I'm gonna just use this square, okay? So I'm scaling this, and this is a good start. So the next thing I want to do is I want to do some scene management. First thing would be to rename this object, because when your scene is populated with so many polygons, it's gonna get hard to get to those that you want if you don't name them, okay? So there are multiple ways to name your objects in the scene. I rather do this in the outliner editor, okay? So outliner, it might be open on the side here for you. Also, you can get to it by clicking on this icon here, which says show or hide the outliner. And okay, so I hit it now. There we go. And if this was not here, you can always get to any of these editors by going to Windows. And these are the basic editors, like outliner is here. So if your outliner is not showing on the side, you can get to it by going to Windows, outliner, and click on it. It's going to be opening up here, okay? So this is the outliner, and everything that exists in your scene is going to be showing up here. As you can see here, there's perspective camera that are like grayed out because probably you cannot delete them and you don't want to delete them. These are the default light sets and object set. We don't have, we're not going to touch that. But you can see that I have my two objects that I created in the scene here. Okay, so this is my image plane. As you can see, I can, by clicking on the outliner, it's going to be selected here, although it is in a display layer, okay? So I'm just going to click on this P pipe 1, which is a default name for this shape. I'm going to rename this. For renaming, I'm going to double click on this. It's going to show up, as you can see here. And then I'm going to just type in names. Again, no spaces in names, okay? So I'm going to call this gear. Hit enter, and now it is renamed. I'm just going to go ahead and rename this to image plane 1. Oh, okay. So automatically it went to image plane 2 because I already had image plane 1 in here. So it doesn't matter what type of object or group it is. Maya, just to keep track of everything, it doesn't let you to name something put a name for two different objects, the same thing, okay? So just put image plane 2 here. Yeah, that should be fine. That's okay. So gear. I have my gear here, and I renamed it. So that's that. Just gonna close that tab, not close it, but push it to the side. So I now want to create this teeth all around the gear. So to do that, as you might have guessed, I can just go in and select faces like this, and then extrude them, right? Oops, not this one. I'm just going to face mode and use shift on the keyboard to select the faces that I want. I look around my model, I hit 4 to see if I'm, make sure that I'm not selecting the faces that I don't want. Going back to 6 for shaded view, and then extrude them. So I do shift, right click, extrude face. Oh, look at that. Yeah, Maya can sometimes do that. So as you can see, my manipulator for extrude is a little bit messed up. So I'm just gonna hit Control Z to go back until I see that one of these faces are not selected. That's how I know that I'm before extrude. Okay. So I'm gonna try to help Maya understand that, okay, there's nothing weird here. Everything is cool. So let's see if Maya snaps out of its craziness if I delete the history on this object. So in the polymodeling shelf, I'm just going to click on this icon with a clock on it. It's delete history. It's going to clear the build history on this object, and sometimes it helps Maya to calculate things better. So let's try it again. So the faces are like this. Looks good. Shift right click, extrude face. Nope, it doesn't want to do this. Okay, let's see what's happening here. I'm guessing maybe the symmetry is on, and that's why okay, that's it. Yeah, okay, so I turned on the symmetry on this object before and it gets crazy. So okay, this is tool settings. If you want to get to this, you can, again, because it's a editor in Maya, you can go to Windows, General Editors, and then Tool Settings. Okay, if you have this open on the side, each tool that you use, you're gonna see the setting for this tool. Like this is for the selection tool. If I go to let's say Move tool, you can see the tool setting for the Move tool. Okay. So I can see that symmetry is on for this object. I'm gonna just hit reset, so it is off. Okay, so now hopefully Maya is gonna do this. So faces are selected, shift right click, extrude face. There we go. Okay, so this symmetry thing is something that I was trying, and it's not working that good. So I just dropped it. Here we go. Okay, so now I wanna extrude it out like this. Looks good. And I also want to get this kind of angled sides to it. So as I pushed it away from the faces, I want to use a scale in extrude. And to do that, we know how to get there, right? Just gonna hit plus on my keyboard so that these arrows are bigger. You can see that. So to get to a scale mode in the extrude, I want to click on any of these cubes actually that are showing in this manipulator. I'm just going to click on any of them once, just clicking, not dragging. Click on them once, and then the center turns into a cube. And this means that now you can extrude, you can scale each of these faces based on their own center. Okay, and that's exactly what we want. So I want to scale them in this direction. Okay. So I'm gonna just grab this cube, this red cube, and scale it, okay? I also would like them to be scaled in this direction a little bit as well, so I'm gonna just grab this green cube and scale them a little bit down so I get a nice bend here, okay? So that looks good. And I have the basic shape of my object. What's next? Okay, I want to create this hollow ring that is in the middle of this surface. Okay, to get to that, I can use my insert edge loop tool because I have this nice 2 edge loops here, and I can use insert edge loop tool to get like 1 or 2 rings here, and then use the extra geometry that is created here to push everything down. Right? So I'm gonna do shift right click and insert edge loop tool. Okay, insert edge loop tool, but I'm gonna go to setting because I want to change something here. So if you go to setting for insert edge loop tool, you can see that this is the default setting, a relative distance from the edge. If I can just click on the object and decide where I want to put this edge loop. But I can also change this to be like equal distance from the edges. So it means when I check this option, it doesn't matter where I click, okay? Oh, it does, apparently. Okay. Equal distance from the edges. It is supposed to be like in the middle of it. Well, never mind that. We're going to be using this multiple edge loops and use equal multiplier. Okay. Let's reset it first so your setting matches mine. So this is the default setting, and we're going to use this one, multiple edge loops. Okay. So if you use this one and click on these edges, you can see that it creates like 2 edge loops, and they're at the same distance from the above and the below edge loop. Okay. And this is the number of edge loops that gets created when you check this by default. And of course you can change this, right? I'm gonna hit Control Z to go back. So when you have multiple edge loops, you can set it to be like 3, and then if I click on here, I get 3 edge loops at equal distances. Okay, but again, don't overuse it. Like, don't put geometry where you don't need them. Okay, it's gonna get hard to create UVs, to fix the model, anything. So don't just add geometry where you don't need them. So for this, I only need 2 edge loops. So I'm gonna just set this to 2 and click on this. So now I have a couple of faces in here that I can select and extrude. I'm gonna hit Q to go to selection mode, and I'm gonna go to face mode. Click on any of these faces and shift double click on the rest so that I can select this ring of faces. And for extrude, I'm gonna do shift, right click, extrude face, and I'm gonna use this arrow to push it down. And now I get the ring, right? So again, to get to this part that is in the middle, I have this flat surface here with a hole in it. So to create that, I'm gonna again use the insert edge loop tool. Shift right click, insert edge loop tool. This time for multiple edge loops, I want the edge loop to be exactly at the middle. So I'm gonna use number of edge loops, set it to 1, and I click anywhere, it doesn't matter, it's just gonna create 1 edge loop which is at the equal distance from these 2 edges around it. Okay, so now I'm gonna hit Q, and I'm gonna use these faces that I just created to extrude and get to this shape that is in the middle. So I'm going to do shift, right click, extrude faces. I'm going to use this arrow and do extrude. Here we go. Shift, right click for object mode, and for the sake of my not going crazy, I'm just gonna hit delete history. So that looks good. I get the basic shape of the gear, and if I hit 3 and investigate my model, seems that I don't have any double extrusions or any holes or any weird shadows, so it means it's hopefully clean, right? So I'm gonna stop this tutorial here, and in the next tutorial I'm gonna create this spheres and teach you about like the basics of rigging with that. Okay.